what? Well, we are in that really odd time of year where it's cold in the mornings, warm in the afternoons, then it's cold again at night. This could be a little tricky to navigate, especially for our feathered friends. Well, luckily, Ryan Laney is here this morning to share some tips on how we can actually help them. Ryan, it's good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, how does the weather Colorado roller coaster, let's call it, really impact birds? Because this is something we don't think about.
Yeah, so most birds are pretty safe about as far as their immigration habits going to or from Colorado, but when we have those dips, like those roller coasters we talk about so frequently, luckily they usually know when to kind of stay dormant versus when they should try to go out and actually find food. And we as people in these areas, we can always help those birds by providing seed for them with typical bird feeders.
You know, I have to bring something up because I've thought about this so many times, and sometimes when my family visits from Texas, they're like, we don't see a lot of birds in your area. I'm like, you're right. What can I do to attract more birdies?
So the easiest question, or the easiest answer to that, is just simply asking, where do you live? And then depending on if you live somewhere local in the Denver proper area, if you live somewhere farther out, talk to your local places that offer bird seed and ask them what will work best for where you live. Luckily, I live in the northern area of Colorado, so we have birding stores like Wild Birds Unlimited. We have Front Range Birding Company. You can go into any of those local shops and say, here's where I live, what should I get? And they'll give you some good suggestions for what kind of seed you might want in your feeders.
Okay, see, that is all helpful information. All right, tell us what you've brought today.
So this is some no mess blend bird seed here. This is a good example of what you might get from your own local birding store.
Got it.
And as you can see, it's just this easy. If you've got a little tube feeder and some seed, hang this up on a nice little shepherd's crook somewhere, a few feet from your house if you've got a yard of your own.
Yeah.
And it's just that easy.
And you just watch it go down and...
Yes, and where I live, one of these can be eaten up within a single day or two, and in some places it might be longer than that, some places less than that.
Yeah, it depends where you live, right, as you were saying. So birds really do go out and find their own food, but weather can impact that.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, if you were to compare the nature of Colorado in general, even like 50 years ago to today, there's a lot of urbanization, a lot of industrialization, and a lot of things that the birds would have been relying on 50 years ago just aren't a thing. So we as humans can do our part to help our ecosystems, help our local communities by giving them a little bit of help when they need it in winter.
Absolutely. Okay, tell me what else you've brought and what this is right here.
Yeah, so this is basically a couple of discs of suet. You might also recognize one that looks like this, which is kind of a more square, rectangular shape. And they'll go inside feeders like this that will attract things that are more like in the nuthatch or woodpecker family. Even around here in the Denver area, you'll find things like white-breasted nuthatches. You'll find northern flickers that will be way more attracted to this because they're used to basically be on the side of a tree, clinging to it, foraging for things that this doesn't quite accommodate.
Yes, okay. So what about plants? Like, is there a certain kind of plants we can also have to attract birds or to help birds?
Yes. Talk to your local communities, talk to whether it's your city councilors, whoever's kind of in charge of the nature in your area, and ask them, what native plants could I plant? Obviously, HOA stipulations might interfere with that temporarily, but you can talk to people and at the very least ask, what can I do to help plant local native plants in my area?
Got it. Okay, so with the feeders and some of the stuff you've brought this morning, what kind of birds would that typically attract?
Oh, so this time of year is perfect because we're just about to start spring migration of some birds coming through. So the ones you'll see year round, you're going to see things like house finches, house sparrows, some black-capped chickadees will be here even in Denver proper, but we're going to start seeing things like American goldfinches, lesser goldfinches, just a variety of things based on where you live, which again, you can reach out and find some good resources for what things you might see coming through your area during spring migration.
That would be something really neat to do, especially if you are a fan of birds. Okay, I see you brought some binoculars. For those that may not have a yard or would like to just go bird watching, what's the best way to do so and where would you recommend?
Yeah, so luckily we do have, of course, for the Denver Audubon, we have the Kingery Nature Center and the entire Chatfield area down there, which has acres upon acres that are open year round for this kind of stuff near Waterton Canyon. But also, we as the alumni of Denver Audubon programs, we also have the means to actually lead guided tours pretty much anywhere along the Front Range where we might have one of our alumni members or someone who works with Denver Audubon. And we would love, love, love to have people reach out to us and say, hey, I live around Longmont, I live around Castle Rock, can you host a trip that we can coordinate together and we'll find a great place to go birding with you?
No kidding. Dang.
Yes.
Okay, I love that. And now that we know that, it's time to make some phone calls and get involved more with what Denver Audubon does. Okay, any other recommendations you may have for people wanting to experiment more? Maybe an interest for birds. I grew up with a bird. He was a parrot. He had a very filthy mouth, but somebody ended up stealing him.
Oh,
but I know, right? I'm like, don't worry, he'll be back. But we love birds, and we kind of have fallen behind a little bit on reaching out to do more for them. So that would be great.
Yes.
Any events that you guys have coming up that people could definitely be a part of or maybe get more info?
Yes, we currently have the Soaring Soiree, which is one of Denver Audubon's biggest fundraising events of the entire year.
Okay. So, and what's the website people can jump onto?
DenverAudubon.org is where you can find all the information for these kinds of things. There are plenty of contacts on there, and of course, at the very least, you can reach out to, just the standard email addresses that are on the contact part of DenverAudubon.org. DenverAudubon.org.
Okay, Ryan, what made you have that interest in birds and really what is it that you love so much about it?
So my wife and I, we were both always kind of outdoorsy people, but never really got the hook into birding until 2020 because we were all, of course, kind of locked inside for obvious reasons.
True.
And we were trying to find some sort of hobby to get outside. And on a whim in October of 2020, I said, hey, you know what, let's just go buy some good binoculars and let's just walk outside. And the first bird we saw with our binoculars was just a typical red-tailed hawk, which you see all over the place in Colorado. And just the bug just bit us immediately, and we have been just loving it ever since then.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for bringing this great info to the show this morning. A pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody, if this is something you would love to do, you want to learn more, you can do so. It's super simple. The Denver Audubon and their Soaring Soiree, by the way, they've got this event coming up on March the 27th. It will be emceed by our very own Chris Bianchi, and you can get your tickets right now. So, yes, this is a good event to go to. DenverAudubon.org for more info and tickets.